People in general, black people in general, are not very comfortable with therapists. And one of
Right.
the things we do is we already make up the judgment result that they're going to get when they go in there. If it's a woman, she's going to be on the woman's side. Or she might be on the man's side against the woman. She's just a woman hater. If it's a man, he's trying to hit on my lady, or he gonna take my side because he is the man. Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What is forgiveness?
Forgiveness is forgiving. I'm gonna put it like this: I can forgive you. I don't have to like what you did.
But sometimes there's a certain maturity of life you have to deal with. There are things you have to do and learn. The faith is to trust in the confusion that you may be going through.
Welcome to Mended Men's Conversation, life lessons of legacy, where real men have real conversation. I'm Anthony Washington.
And I'm Titus Garnett, and we're here to dive deep into the struggles, victories, and lessons that shape us as men, from mental health and fatherhood to faith, identity, and purpose, breaking the silence and starting the conversations that matter.
We have over 12 years of professional experience and over 140 years of combined life experience as fathers, sons, brothers, husbands, friends, educators. We are you. We know that healing starts with an honest dialogue. So let's get real. Let's get ready. Let's grow together. This is Mended Men's Conversation. Let's dive in.
And I'm Titus Garnett.
And I'm Anthony Washington.
And this is Mended Men. So, every man has wounds, but not every man seeks healing. Let's talk about what it takes to heal from past trauma and to move forward. Recognizing trauma in men, how emotional wounds manifest in anger, fear, and addiction. Men in general do not admit that they're wounded. They will not, as a whole, say that someone or something has got the better of them. And even though it may come out in anger, fear, or an addiction, they'll just look at it and say, man, that's all right. Forget that person. Screw them. And they'll just hold it in close to their chest, and they don't want to recognize what it may be doing to them. And we went back to something we had in a previous conversation about having someone that you trust that is telling you got trauma that you can accept that information from.
Right. Just having that person you can talk to, and get it off your chest and being comfortable about talking about your pain.
Mm-hmm.
And again, going backward, that's not a sign of weakness talking about your pain. I believe it's a sign of strength if I can talk about my pain, because one of the things I choose not to do is stay in pain. Listen, for me, pain is a great motivator. It let me know that I need to do something about what's going on inside of me, how I truly feel, what I think about myself. I'm going to just say this much, we do this together, every Friday, but this is also where you are a person that I can talk about how I feel, what's going on with me.
Right. I understand. Yeah.
And that's what this is about, because as you said before, holding on to that stuff, it's not a healthy feeling. And be honest with you, excuse my language, it will definitely kick your ass.
Yeah, but you won't see it that way. You need to point the finger at somebody or something that's causing it. You won't point it back at the mirror.
No.
So, and the thing about when they was talking about anger, fear, and addiction, how many men even they will address and say, "Yeah, I'm angry." They don't have a problem with that, but they'll have a problem with fear. I ain't afraid of shit. Right? Let's just be straight about it. I ain't afraid of nothing. And addiction is not the idea, meaning that you go to drugs. It could be anything habit forming.
Sex, money.
Right. Or you could just want to sit up and watch TV all night and don't want to get up you become a couch potato. All right. That addiction could be anything. Gambling. All right. You hit the street. You stay out in the street. Well, man, I'm just going out. Yeah, I knew someone that would say, I'm going out dancing. That's how I work it off. And I said, don't use dancing as a way out of the stress and stuff don't in your life. It may be a temporary fix, but you're not focusing on the stress or the problems that you have.
It's a way to enjoy yourself,
Yeah.
smile and have some fun. But when that fun is over with, I gotta go right back to, it reminds me of that joke Richard Pryor said. Bad luck just sit on the side of your bed and say, "Good morning. I'm here just to mess with you."
Yeah. Yeah.
It don't go nowhere. So if you don't do nothing about it, it will always be there.
It will always be there. And if you look at using something that is enjoyable, it's like, okay, it's like somebody that's just say, okay, I'm going to drink myself silly tonight. So you drink yourself silly. And then when you wake up the next day, besides the hangover of the headache, the first thing that hits you is the problem. The reason why you drank yourself silly. Okay, you go out dancing all night long. You said, boy, I don't dance with some of the finest women in the world. Man, I had me one hell of a time. But when you wake up in the next day, or you get back home, or you get in the car, the first thing that hits you is that issue that's bothering you.
It don't go nowhere. That's the beauty of options. I have the options. Either I can deal with my issues or I can run away from them.
Yeah.
But it will never go anywhere until I actually deal with them.
Yeah.
That old saying that, men don't cry. That's basically what we're saying here. We do cry.
Yeah.
And it's okay. And there's nothing wrong with doing that because we're human beings. We have emotions. We have feelings. Crying is one of them. And if crying is getting it off my chest, let me get it off my chest.
Yeah.
Let me get it off my chest and let me start talking about how I truly feel.
Yeah.
And like you said, we do have a lot of men that, choose not to actually deal with that. And like I said, we said earlier, some people see it as a sign of weakness, me talking to a therapist.
Right. People see therapy. Are you kidding me? People in general, black people in general, are not very comfortable with therapists. And one of the things we do is we already make up the judgment result that they're going to get when they go in there. If it's a woman, she's going to be on the woman's side. Or she might be on the man's side against the woman. She's just a woman hater. If it's a man, he's trying to hit on my lady, or he gonna take my side because he is the man. You got to go in there. I had talked to someone before about going in there, and they're giving me all these answers, and they say, but I'm all right. I said, you're not all right. If you was all right, we wouldn't be talking about this, and you wouldn't be admitting you got an issue. The only thing you're admitting is that you don't want to solve it, and you haven't solved it now. So what makes you think you're going to solve it tomorrow? All right.
Right.
So you need somebody to talk to you that is not related to you, that is not related to the situation that you're in, that can give you objective results outside of the environment.
Right.
They go by what you say, Go ahead. You look like you was about to say something.
I was just going to say, dealing with my emotions, it causes me to be uncomfortable. And I don't want to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I want to be comfortable.
Yeah.
Comfortable is not dealing with my issues.
Yeah.
And that is really, I don't see nothing wrong with being uncomfortable. I got to learn to accept that uncomfortable is all part of the process too, and that's how we grow, being uncomfortable.
We talked I think it was last week, we was talking about having, what do you call them, a buddy, somebody you can go to or whatever.
Yeah.
But they have to also be able to say to you, I don't have an answer for you. You tell me about this and that. I can't tell you what to do. I feel you, brother, but you need to take it to the next level. Somebody that, I don't want to give you say anything. And then when it don't get solved, you turn to me and say, hey, man, I did what you said.
I'm blaming it on you.
Right. Look at it.
You did it.
Yeah, my old lady, she gone. All right. So, address the problem as to why she leaving. All right. Don't address that she's gone, because then maybe you'll understand why she's gone, or you might say good riddance. So you got to know what is the causation of the effect.
Right.
The shame cycle. Why men often suppress pain instead of addressing it. Now, that's an obvious question to a point that you say that, well, that's the way men were raised. Boys don't cry. Big boys don't cry. All right. That is one way of people at it. If you don't cry, you don't have nothing to address. The shame.
No
So there's no
feelings.
shame. The shame is in the tears. All right. There ain't no shame in the tears. Okay. And they got to learn how to address it. And many of those points have to come from the parent when a father looks at his son and say, what's wrong with you? Well, she this, that, whatever. And it broke my heart. So, okay, all right, chill, bro. Chill, little brother. All right, chill, my son. Chill, whatever. Okay, you got a problem. Something is bothering you. What's the problem? Instead of looking at the result, little punk boy, what you crying for? Get your butt up and go there. And, no. Address the effect. I mean, the causation.
The subject you bring up is real important, most especially for young men. And why I say that is because, as a child, that's where all this starts at. All this got to start in the home. You can't send your kid out to school and he's not doing well and then blame the school because he's not doing well. Everything got to start at home.
Yeah.
And the home is the base and everything else is just an extension of the home. So we as men, I believe, in my opinion, is that, we have to teach our sons at home to how to express yourself and be okay with expressing yourself, and you learn to teach them at home so when they go out in the world, they will have a better understanding how to function in life. I mean, I believe that's important. And why I say that is because my son goes to daycare and they gave us my wife asked them, how's he doing? And and the feedback we got is more or less, I'm gonna say it's accurate to a certain extent, but it sound like more or less blaming, because if he wasn't, because the way she put it, it was like he was doing something in school he wasn't supposed to be doing, and she had to make him sit down next to it, to her. So my point, if that's the case, why didn't you say something to me or my wife? You use that little communication thing, that text thing that we had set up, and talk about this, And so she was saying, I'm saying that's what the thing is. If he was doing this a while back, then you should have said something to me when he first did it. And I can work on it. I'm working on him in his behavior because I know he can be active.
Yeah.
But, if he's doing this there, I want you to tell me. Don't wait. So, I mean, that's what I'm saying. And it's not being mad or angry with him. It's just making me more aware of what I need to work on, with him. So that's my long story short, is that, this really has to start at home because, there's a lot of, just my opinion, I feel there's a lot of broken men out there that, don't know how to express how they truly feel or talk about how they truly feel to another human being and learn how to address to deal with those emotions and feelings. So we don't have to have that mindset continue to go on if we start doing this while we're home. So when they go out, they're better prepared. And it's over a period of time, we'll start seeing that mindset starting to change. They be more self-sufficient. They're not walking out there like this, gimme.
This is okay. What I'm about to talk about, addressing it, we're talking about starting at the home. Sometimes a man will come home and let's say we're talking to the son and he's in a situation and he tries to talk to his dad. Dad, guess what? I got in this fight and blah, blah, blah. And instead of saying, boy, just shut up. Just walk through the door. Now I go out, I do the work, I pay the bills, I gotta wash the car, I do all the groceries, this, that. Go to your mama and let her, this is too much for me. Go to your mama and let her deal with that, But this may call for male advice. So even though you busy from 1 to 10, you better find room for 10 and a half and 11, because
Sure.
it will come back and affect you later in life. There were times the kids said, well, I can't go to my parents because they don't never listen to me anyway. So that's the beginning stage to start holding something in.
Yeah.
And they won't be able to express it. Another thing, what you mentioned about school with your boy, stuff that happened in a social environment at times can be contradictory to each other. All right. I taught martial art classes for kids and adults, but mainly kids. And the kids were coming in and do martial art classes. And you're teaching these kids how to punch, kick, throw, choke, whatever. But I would set up examples of where you don't have to punch, kick, or choke, or whatever like that. Here's the conflicting issues.
Wait a minute,
You
before you
go
go
to
there,
school, yeah.
what kind of examples did you set up?
What I would do, okay, I'm gonna get to that.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. You bring that up if I don't answer. You know I'm old. I'm gonna lose
All
it.
right, I got you. I got you.
But the conflict is this. You go to school and somebody picks on you, a bully or whatever, and starts to fight. All right. You defend yourself. All right. The teacher comes. The school policy is no fighting. So that both of you get thrown out. All right. Or suspended for something. But you got this kid in karate class. All right. The parents, how do you deal with that conflict in school, and then you put them in karate class? And what they in karate class for? Because most of the time they're going to get into fights is in a social situation at school. So what I would do with them, to answer your question, is this. I would teach you how to block, but not strike. One of the things is you get them, if you break somebody's offense, they have no defense, all right? You break down their offense. So when they throwing punches, all you did is block, get out of the way, just grab them, push them to the side. And so if they say, well, there was a fight, what happened, this and that, well, you're both fighting, you're going out. I also did this with tell them this too. Everything tell them this too was that you can say, I didn't fight. All I did was protect myself. So why are you throwing me out? And the parents should back you up on that. And one thing, my class was never closed off. The parents were welcome to be in there as well. Even when their kids are in there, they're not sitting outside through a paying gas. No, they needed to hear what I was saying. And also the parents knew and the kids knew if you was defending yourself in a situation, I would even come up to school and defend and back you up too. And they would say, oh, well, you in karate. I would come up there too and say, I got this kid's back too also. Because I'm not teaching them how to be violent. I'm teaching them how to be safe.
Yeah, and that's important. I like what you said, when you said you're teaching them how to defend themselves, to protect themselves. And, so it's a difference between being aggressive or protective. I'm not causing it. I'm just protecting myself. He's being the aggressor.
Right.
So you talking about fighting. I'm not fighting. I'm protecting myself. I don't want to get hurt. Am I wrong for not want to be getting hurt?
Yeah.
So that makes sense. It will make a child really think about what you just done.
Right. And yeah.
You plant that seed in their mind, they see the difference. Okay, he's aggressive. I'm just protecting myself. And they know the difference.
Right.
That was one of the things I was, I took a little karate class. I didn't stay in it long, but, I took it when I was growing up at the boys club when I came up. But one of the things they was teaching is self-defense, and it's not just about physical, it's training your thinking, understanding what you're actually doing.
Look at a person because he will telegraph what he's about to do. Now, that's not saying I'm giving them anything that's not physically protective to like knocking his nose to the side of his face, but that would be done in the street. Know the environment that you're in. Be aware. Out in the street, it's a whole new different ball game. Okay? Self-protection breaking them down, but also you letting them know, hey, this is what can come, and it could come worse than that. But sometimes just embarrassing them is enough to make them angry, and then in that case, they're going to get wilder and they're going to leave themselves open more. And there's a difference between what you do in the school, what you do in a karate class, and what you do in the street. Those are different environments, and you have to be taught to deal with those individual different environments. You see a lot of kids in class breaking boards and doing all this and that. Why would I teach an 8-year-old how to break a board? Because then he punches another 8-year-old in the chest. And what's he do? Break a rib? Oh, come on. Now, and boards don't hit back anyway.
No, they don't.
So you got to be smart about the age you're teaching, what you're teaching, this and that. And sometimes it builds a confidence in you that you carry with you, even though you could tell a show off, but you can also tell somebody who walks a certain way and like, well, maybe I better leave that guy alone. Okay, so I don't want to belabor too much on that point. Forgiveness as a healing tool. How forgiving yourself and others lead to healing. In order to forgive yourself and others, that is a form of you have to address it before you can forgive it. You know what I mean?
But forgiveness sometimes can be a hard thing.
Very much so.
Because I'm speaking from my own personal experience. I would say, somebody said, well, you're just going to have to forgive him. And my thing was, I ain't letting that person get away with that shit.
Yeah.
That's how I think it.
Yeah.
But the reality of it is that, long as I think like that, they are getting away with it.
Yeah.
And why I say that is because in my experience, I found people do things because they need me to react a certain way.
Yeah.
And when I learned that, there's nothing wrong with forgiveness. And like I said, at first I had to forgive myself.
Yeah.
And when I learned to forgive myself, then I could forgive somebody else. I'm no longer I no longer allow that person to hold me hostage anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like, it's like it is. It's a freedom, like I just been released, and, I was going to share this little story that my experience is that, I was so mad at this person. And, my thing of it is what I need to do, get him back. I had to do something, but I found out, I was talking to somebody about it, and they said, pray about it.
Uh-huh.
And whatever you pray for, pray the same thing for them. You must be crazy. Listen, it's just a suggestion. My thing, I'm sharing this with you because I want you to have an experience with it. And if it don't work, don't do it no more.
Yeah.
But if it worked,
yeah,
you let me know.
Mm-hmm.
I said, all right, I did that. And the next time I seen that person, they was on guard and whatnot, because they assumed that I was still holding on to that anger.
Yeah.
But when I seen them, I said, hey, how you doing? What's been going on? I'm just chit-chatting, and I could see the expression on the face like, excuse the expression, nigga, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
You don't remember what I just did to you a while ago? And you showing me all this love, so it goes back to what you said when you teach a kid self-defense. You're not teaching them to punch them in the eye, kick them in the head. No, you're teaching them to protect themselves.
Yeah.
You don't have to strike out. Mm-hmm. And when you knock somebody's defense down, they have no offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it as the same analogy. Is that, when I did that and I just spoke to the person, talked to him. I mean, I act like we was friends for a lifetime,
Mm-hmm.
but we wasn't. But I didn't have to treat him nasty. I treat him with kindness, and it killed him,
Yeah.
So they didn't know how to take me. They didn't know, because what they assumed of me, what they assumed that they assumed the way I was going to act. I didn't give them that, so it threw them off, and they was like just didn't know what to do with me.
Well,
I,
let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
What is forgiveness?
Forgiveness is forgiving. I mean, I gotta forgive because people, we all human, we all make mistakes. I don't have to like what you did, but I can also, I'm saying I can forgive. I can forgive you. I guess I'm saying, I'm gonna put it like this: I can forgive you. I don't have to like what you did. Does that makes any sense?
Okay, now it wasn't okay, but I'm willing to let it go.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna say I'm just gonna like forget about it. No, because the next
Yeah,
time
yeah.
I see you, we're gonna be cool. But I put it like this, I know that I had an incident where somebody borrowed some money, chose not to pay it back. Okay, cool. What you're telling me is that you're not a good paymaster. So I have to accept that. When I see you, we can talk and chat and do all those things. But when it comes to funds, me lending you some funds, I quickly say, nah, I can't do that. I ain't got it. We don't roll like that. And if you want to take it a little further, I'll just let you know you're not a good paymaster. What I mean is that you choose not to pay me. I mean, I give you something, you wanted to borrow something, but you walk around like you forgot the bet that you bought. So instead of me being angry with you, I bought you for whatever I gave you because I know I ain't going to get it back. But you can't get nothing else from me like that when it comes to finance because you don't pay back. You didn't
So in
come
other
to me and say,
words, in other words, I can forgive you, but that does not mean you've retained my trust or regained my trust again. No, you
right,
have not.
right. Because
Yeah,
you let me know what you're about.
yeah.
And I don't have to hate you for that. I need to respect you for that because you're telling me what you're about.
Okay, but it's a healing tool. So you just don't let it drag along with you.
And you know
Okay.
something? That's that's healing for both of us. Because now what I'm doing is that I'm not angry with you no more. I'm still showing you some love, but I know that we don't when it comes to the finance, we don't go there. And I'm okay with that. And if you're
Yeah.
not, that's on you. But it also helped you because now you know I can't get no money from it. And now I'm planting that seed in your head, and so you tell yourself, okay, well, I can't get nothing from here. And eventually you'll start asking yourself or asking me why I can't, and you'll know. And I don't have no problem telling you. I don't know. We talked about it. It's about, I believe, I don't necessarily have to do all the conversation and talking about. Nah, allow my actions to dictate to that individual how I truly feel.
Hmm.
Because action speaks louder than words anyway. So and that's how I heal myself, and I help you. I show you healing.
Yeah. 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 Now he doesn't have to accept it
No,
because you accepted it for you, and he's
and
out
he
and
has to
he's out on
accept
his
it
own
when he's ready.
when he's ready, if he wants
But
to,
yeah,
if he
right.
knows how.
Right. And see,
Yeah.
there we go again. If I really want to do something about this pain I'm gonna come talk to you because me and you was real close. And now I see that you put some space between it, and I need to know what's going on. So you tell me, and now you helping me heal. See what I'm saying? How
Yeah.
we can work
Yeah.
with each
Yeah.
other.
Yeah. 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 Well, that's good. We're gonna move on to the next one, and I hope Anthony can forgive me for doing that. Oh, listen, just call me Mr. Segway. Faith and professional health. How therapy and spirituality can work together. Most therapists are not, if I may be wrong, are not faith-based therapists unless they go into it as faith-based therapists, all right? Because
Mhm.
some people who go into therapy, looking for, they may look at faith as something that's non-concrete. They want something concrete. Well, a lot of time faith is just walking the road and believing where you're being led, or is it going to be handled by a higher power, God, whatever. But what a faith faith-based therapy, but I'm going to look at it this way. I'm not going to look at it as faith-based therapy. I'm just going to look at the spirituality, because
Okay.
people got different concepts of faith. I remember a preacher once said, the reason you having trouble and you can't pay your bills because you ain't giving enough to the church. Well, if you giving all you got to the church, daggone well you ain't gonna be able to pay no bills. Okay? you know, but don't worry, God gonna send you a check. Yeah, okay. All right. But sometimes there's a certain maturity of life you have to deal with. There are things you have to do and learn. The faith is to trust in the confusion that you may be going through. It's like you talked earlier about the forgiveness. Your forgiveness is partly based on the faith that, okay, I'm going to forgive this dude and I'm going to be all right. And you, granted, maybe he'll be all right in the process. He may not be all right, but I know I'm going to be all right. So you're using the belief in yourself of how your outcome will be. All right. You got some points on that?
Yeah, faith and spirituality. Not faith is therapy and spirituality, right?
I think it's faith and professional health, how therapy and spirituality can work together. And I think the reason they're looking at spirituality is more on the belief in a higher power.
Yeah,
and not any particular religion or whatever.
Right. No, no. I'm not coming from like a religionist thing. I'm more or less, I like the fact, the spirituality, because what do I actually believe in? Two wrongs can't make a right, and I shared that earlier about the story about, somebody I was working with and I didn't like how they came off to me, and they pissed me off and I was holding on to it. When I talked to that person, they was telling me that, I need to practice some kind of spirituality, something like that, because the way I used to think is that, I'm holding on to this anger. I thought that was the way it's supposed to be. I'm holding on and I'm mad, and I want you to see my anger. I want you to feel my anger, But the reality of it is nobody's miserable but me.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
So when I was introduced to spirituality, it made me feel a certain way. It made me feel relieved, because now that I found a way that I didn't have to hold on to that anger, and I felt at ease. I felt peace.
Yeah.
I felt at peace. So learning, I felt that this is the way I can move forward. I struggle with that. We've been talking like is how man think. Spirituality. When I think spirituality, that's weak, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not weak.
Uh-huh.
It's peaceful. It's healthy. I ain't gonna
Yeah.
say weak. I'm gonna say it's healthy for me, because
Mhm.
now I can let all those negative thoughts and feelings go and start developing some positive thinking, some positive feelings. So I believe that therapy and spirituality does work hand in hand, because it's showing me a way to move forward in life without always holding on to that chaos and madness. Life is made to be enjoyed, and we're gonna have ups and downs. Can't get away from that. But the fact of it is that we have to learn to live and love life. I need to learn to live and love life. So I believe therapy and spirituality has a lot in common. That's just my belief. What you think about that? How you feel about spirituality and therapy?
It can bring a calmness to you that you can't debate, because spirituality is something that if you look around you, you can say, okay, how did all this get here? Okay, then you look around you and you say, and you see how vast our world is. You see how vast our solar system is. You see how vast our galaxy is. And our solar system is just the pinhead in the galaxy. Our galaxy is just a pinhead in the universe. And you
Right.
think all this is just like, wow, it's just amazing. And things are going, there's so much order in things, and you wonder, it's just me. it shows you there's a greater greatness out there that you can connect to, or it's bigger than you. And you
Right.
can settle into it and say, wow, things can work out for me, because look how it worked out for just the earth itself, created out of rocks. How did it come into formation? And now it's got life on it. I mean, it's just, see, because a lot of times we can't comprehend
This thing called life.
this thing called life, or this thing called time. We can't comprehend it, but it exists.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, and we exist in it. So why can we not lean on it when we need to spiritually? Okay, because there's more to us than just flesh and blood. We are a part of the universe. All our physical body stuff is a part of the universe, but our spiritual is something completely different. We are a union being, body, mind, and soul. We cannot comprehend, where does our mind come from? How did we concrete thought? How did we understand thought? Where does it come from? Does it come from a cell, or does it come from an accidental chemical structure or whatever? But we can't comprehend it. But then the body, we can see it and break it down and show that it comes from every other aspect in the universe. The carbon based, and carbon based is based on a lot of, comes from outside of our world. So we are pieces of that. Now spiritual, that's faith. You believe who you are and what you are, and you lay on that. I am what I am. You may want me to be something different. I will not be something different. I will be me. But then you got to look at yourself and say, who am I? Now, I'm talking a lot of complicated this, that, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. However you want it, this and that. Then why do we have it? If we've got it, utilize it. If we got the knowledge, utilize it. If we got the spirit, utilize it. If we got our soul, utilize it. All that, then utilize it to get you where you need to be. And it brings a certain amount of comfort to where you're not as alone as you think.
You are so right. The pastor that I listen to a lot. Well, there's a lot of them that I listen to because I like the message. I like the feel for it. What I get from them. But one of the things I learned and all of that, I experienced in that is that, am I going to apply any of this, or am I just listening to it?
True.
And application is just applying. It just means the world. Having an experience with it, now I have some knowledge of it, and I think that therapy, we talk, you gonna have those conversations and you get some feedback from it. Now I need to have that experience with it. And I can start to see how my thinking starts to shift. It's still a little doubt there because, that thought of how I was raised and what I was taught, what I listened to, kind of like seeped in the brain. And then now I'm making that shift of more of a spiritual basis, I'm gonna put it like this, more loving basis, and I don't have an issue with that anymore today because, as you said, it has that peaceful vibe with it. I can get with this. I can. I don't feel like if I do it, I'm stuck. I'm not stuck. Mm-hmm. I can move forward. My feet is moving. I ain't like mine is going somewhere, but my feet stuck in some cement. It's just having that experience with it.
Yeah.
And then be able to talk about it with another human being. And that's one of the things that we talk about mostly, that how do I change that mindset that I had, and be comfortable with doing something different.
Yeah, but you know what? You brought something up there. When you change that mindset, how do you change it? Okay, no. Hold on. What I'm saying is the mindset itself, the mind is nothing you can touch. It's not solid. It's this non-distinct thing is out there. Where did it come from? So using spirituality has a better chance of touching that mindset than a kick in the butt. Trying to be
Well,
physical. No, it depends on the situation, of course.
yeah,
All right. It depends on the situation. Sometimes people need a kick in the butt.
yeah,
But a
that's what I was
mind,
gonna say.
okay, some people need that. But what I'm saying, you can touch a mindset also through your spirituality. Say, wait a minute, you're a church going guy. You say, well, you know what, I'm gonna call upon the Lord to help me see through this, to help me to adjust through this in my mind. In other words, you're trying to find another avenue other than a physical one that'll touch something that is not physical. Now we're getting really scientific and philosophical in here, but I like this. Well, go ahead, bro.
No, you got me thinking. Cause I gotta. When you said spiritual, it will help me change how I think. Excuse me. But I just gotta have that. I gotta have that experience with it. You gotta have that adjustment with it, where I can do that and have learn about that spirituality. How do I apply that and then actually do it? But you got me when you said, "Oh God."
But if ever I'm getting too heavy for you, Anthony, it's time to go. Okay.
You said something, and I'm trying to remember how did you say it about. I'm gonna come back on it
Okay. All right.
because
Let's
I'll
get
probably be all day long trying. What's that?
walking in wholeness.
Okay,
Walking in wholeness. Daily steps to break free from emotional strongholds. So to walk in wholeness has to start piecemeal,
has to
bit by
start what?
bit. Piecemeal,
Yeah,
bit
yes.
by bit.
I agree.
Okay,
I
you
agree with
just
it.
don't wake up one day and go, I got this.
Nah.
I'm all that. That is like my idea of perfection. Perfection to me, perfection is a journey, not an end
Well,
result.
let's say like this.
But you
Now,
go ahead.
some people might be able to wake up and change it, but I'm gonna say for me, I'm with the piecework. I got to do it piece by piece.
Well, my concern would be if you wake up one day and it's all you got that shit together, it's easy for that shit to fall apart. In
Yeah,
other
but I'm
words,
not
no, hold
saying
on. Here's what I'm saying.
okay.
You wake up one day and and everything is just wow, A to Z, I got it. All right, and because in life everything's a journey, bit by bit. And people take therapy as though, oh, I'm gonna go to a therapist for 6 weeks and then I should have this all together after 6 weeks. And most things in life don't work like that. It
No,
takes
I
time.
don't know anything that works like that in life.
Yeah,
Wake up and everything's right.
yeah.
And the only people I say it work for like that, they got daisies on top of them.
Daisies on top of them, or they're how would you say, if they just walk up and they say, oh man, I'm whole now, they could be just lying to themselves or avoiding the issue itself. Daily steps to break from the emotional stronghold. That's the thing that works. Daily steps. If you wake up that morning and say, I got this, you should backtrack and say, whoa, what got me into this? And maybe I need to just take the day and see how it keeps going. All right, daily
Step
steps,
by step.
step by step, and because it's tough, when we as men are in that emotional state and stress, it didn't happen overnight.
Hell
It's
no.
been accumulating and accumulating, and we don't know how to address it and function with it. And then all of a sudden, we found something that says, man, yeah, that works. Oh, yeah, I like what he just said. And then all of a sudden, bam, oh, I got this. I'll give you an example. I just read something about a certain celebrity yesterday, and that they've been going through a lot of stress in their life. Okay, you hear it on the news, this, that. I ain't talking about P. Diddy, none of that kind of crap. But he's been going through a lot of stuff. So then one day he hears the word of this preacher, all right? And that word hit him so strong, he's converting to this religion. All right. Now, that's like saying this one word is going to convert my whole life to where I'm going to be walking whole. Well, you need to find out how this religion is going to structure your walk, rather than you just say whatever they say is go. It's like you and I meet in the barbershop and I say some things and you go, "Daggone, Papa T, you is the smart nigga. Man, you know what I want you to do? Come on, you every morning I'm going to call you and you help me lead my day. Okay, what do you think I should do? I'm going to bring everything. I ain't got all the answers to everything. Maybe for you, Anthony, but not everybody else. I don't have all the answers. So wholeness is a journey. And that, to me, that's basically what they're saying. Daily steps to break free of emotional stronghold. It's a daily journey. And every time you take a step of positiveness, it increases your wholeness. It increases your trustworthiness. If not the trustworthiness in others, but trustworthiness in yourself. In yourself. Because the easiest person in your life to lie to you is...
Yeah, it is a journey. And I say that because I'm talking from personal experience. Because the way I used to think versus the way I think now, totally different. And I have no regrets. I enjoy the way I think now, what I believe in the direction I'm going in versus when I was in left field going to the parking lot. So it's a process. But, everything that happened to me in my life, I guess I could say it meant to be, because, it was something to be learned from that. And I believe that wholeheartedly. Shit just don't happen out of the blue.
Yeah. Sometimes you look at 140 years of experience, and we're still analyzing and learning and looking back and trying to understand, but not trying to change what's back there, but to better guide ourselves for tomorrow. And even tomorrow itself is a question mark, So you've got to have some strength in you today to not get frustrated about anything that comes up that you didn't plan. And it's difficult to plan.
Yeah, I just say all we got is the day. As long as I learn how to stay in the present, I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, it's been fun. Hey, before you go, I got one more thing for you. If today's conversation spoke to you, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you're ready to take that next step in your personal healing and growth, connect with us. We're here to help. You can find us at www.garnettcounseling.com. Your story matters. Your healing matters. And we'll be honored to be part of your journey. Let's keep the conversation going.
That's a wrap on today's episode of Mended Men Conversations. If something we shared resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Remember, healing is a journey and you don't have to walk it alone. Stay connected with us. Subscribe to the podcast and join the conversation online. Until next time, keep growing, keep healing, and keep building your legacy.